What's up, everybody? I'm James. Welcome to Mechanical Mayhem, and welcome back to the Mechwarrior 5 Clan story-driven campaign playthrough, utilizing stock mechs, which can include hero mechs as well. This playthrough is all about the story, so we're going to be watching every cutscene, letting all of the audio play out, and generally just enjoying the game and seeing all the stuff to see that's in there. So, with that said, we are chugging right along here on Courchevel. Last mission, we got the Ashland regulars to formally surrender. However, now begins the real work and process of pacifying the planet. So, strap in and prepare for drop. Time for a good old-fashioned combat patrol.
While the Taisa Simmer and the bulk of the Ashen regulars have surrendered, we have reports that splinter forces affiliated with the regulars have joined up, with pockets of embittered planetary militia, unwilling to follow suit. They're intent on dragging this fight on as long as they can.
Foolish.
Be that as it may, we must pound these forces into submission, but we are currently in the dark on where these splinter forces and militia units are hiding, and who is supplying them. If we can find out who the party or parties are that are arming these upstarts, we can disrupt the supply chains and draw them out.
Do we know where to look?
I was provided a list of local defense contractors known to do business with the DCMS in the past. I passed it along to your watch for review.
Following up on the Demi-Presenter's intel, we have employed aerial surveillance probes to sweep every inch of the region these contractors operate out of, to try and find targets of interest. Based on these sweeps, we have identified facilities across this region that could be utilized as makeshift logistics centers.
That is good news.
Cobalt, you will be dropped into the AO and investigate the suspected strongholds. Extract all intel you can find on these groups. If they are assisting in system partisans, bringing these companies to heel could choke out the malicious arms suppliers.
It will be done, Star Colonel.
Alrighty, nothing like a little combat patrol mission. These are always fun because you're basically just going to be walking around and destroying anything that gets in your way while trying to get some intel. We're basically reconning in force while patrolling an area to weed out insurgents. Local militia forces and regulars who refuse to surrender are basically what we are facing here on Courchevel now. Really, for the most part, the planet is taken, right? The military unit that's stationed here was defeated and surrendered officially, even though there are pockets of those that refuse to surrender. So, you know, in terms of, you could say, officiality and whatnot, we more or less have the planet in our grips. Now we are just going to be working on taking out those that still stand in our way. And we do have to deal with these insurgents, these militia forces and regulars who refuse to surrender, partly due to Edo, right? As was said in the prior mission by Akari Ito, they know, you know, the rep has followed us here, more or less. Even though Galaxy Commander Perez is no longer in charge and isn't here, we were present and accounted for, and therefore, in their eyes, they feel like they could suffer the same fate. So, unfortunately, Galaxy Commander Perez's mistake, which the clan did not sanction and removed him from Command 4, that has followed us here in more ways than we would have liked. But at the same time, if there's a silver lining to that horrible mistake, it's that these militia forces and the regulars are going to fight all the harder out of a feeling of desperation. While that might not sound like good news, what it does mean is that they are not going to be as conservative or as reserved in how they send their forces out, meaning we probably can bleed their strength all the quicker for it. So that's one way to consider it. But in any case, we're just here to scan some intel, kick in some of the enemy, and repeat process from what they call waypoint to waypoint. It used to be nav points. Mechwarrior 3 did op point. That was the only thing you need to do, op point. So, you know, just whatever. It means the same thing. So Ezra's kind of weird on Courchevel, to be honest with you. It's like, of course, it's a trap. We kind of knew that going in here because we're trying to figure things out, but whatever. So we have medium mechs, and we're going to have a heavy mechs, and we have my star getting in the way of my shots. when you do order them to attack a target while they're defending a position, that defending position goes away, like I mentioned in the first Turtle Bay mission. So they will start closing on a target and moving around, and they love to move and get in your way. It's like they don't really account for what you're doing. That was a lot of missile to take out that mech, by the way. That was kind of nuts. So Grasshopper's a heavy mech, and we are going to make good work of it. I really enjoy piloting a Timberwolf. Typically, I don't overheat much in it, but as you're going to see, I do get rather spicy heat-wise with the Timberwolf in this mission. I'm just a little bit reckless at times. So now that we've started our combat patrol, we're just going to go from point to point and eliminate any insurgencies, or insurgents, I should say, militia forces. Any scannable intel we're going to get. Otherwise, it's just more so taking stock of the area. Now, I really enjoy this kind of terrain feature. We have, typical natural formations, rock jutting and whatnot, but we also have little, like, outposty things and buildings. It's just a really nice kind of set piece, and I've said before, and I'll probably say it again, I think they did a fantastic job visually with this game. Mechwarrior Online was the first thing PGI did, and that looks great, but it's a purely online game to be kind of just, PvP combat, so you're not going to go super crazy with stuff there necessarily, but it still looks great. I really like that explosion effect right there. Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries looks really good still, and that came out, 2019, I want to say? Could be mistaken. And now we have, could be actually a little earlier than that, I forget. But obviously, 2024 is when Mechwarrior 5 Clans came out, and it looks great. The equipment effects for lasers and missiles and autocannons, the soundscape, the landscape, the skybox, terrain features, etc. Everything just looks great. The mechs, of course, look great. And yeah, when it all comes together, and every so often when I'm in missions, I just have that moment of reflection of going, this looks great. And this is one of those missions where I definitely feel that way. Anyways, we have stuff to scan, so this is, I believe, just like salvage resource stuff. I don't get to scan it just yet, as we have enemies to destroy. Now, one thing that I've learned from doing higher difficulty runs, I was trying to figure out how to say that, is that you really should leverage your range. And one of the things that I am not doing quite so well right now is that very concept. I'm getting far too close myself, and instead of having my star not so much fall back, but maneuver backwards to defend a position, I just had them attack moving on enemies, which means they're going to get up close. So you saw we just took out a mech that had a melee upgrade on it. We're going to see a decent amount of that on mechs from the Inner Sphere, which is a nice touch because, you don't typically have that, but this kind of fits the ragtag militia nature of things. Plus, even if they don't have it, they are going to punch if you get too close, so you do want to keep that in mind as well. But yeah, if I was playing this better, I would have had my star. I would use the battle map real quick, the battle grid, and I would have had them defend a position backwards away from here, so they would fall back, keeping their front towards the enemy firing, but they would maintain distance or try to gain some distance that way as opposed to just getting up close. Recommend doing that. Don't do like me. Be better. But we learned a little bit about how the clans view the way the Inner Sphere logistics is, and to be honest, it does make a lot of sense. The clans are cultures and societies, right? But they're not necessarily on the same size as a great house of the Inner Sphere. There's more clans, but they tend to be smaller, I guess you could say, cultures, societies, groups. And I guess one of the things that they can leverage with that is the ability to centralize their equipment so it can just be utilized that much more efficiently. You can use night vision wherever you want, and as you just saw, it can really blow out your screen a little bit if you accidentally hit it. And that's because, well, we're not at night, so go figure. It makes total sense. But as you can see, we don't really have any other style of vision. It's just normal or night vision. I'm wondering if when we get mod support or if PGI is going to give us a better zoom, if one of the things we also see is potentially thermal imaging. like we see in Mechwarrior Online also, because that can be really helpful, especially if we don't have a big zoom. If a mech is getting a little heated because it's been firing at us and it's far away, we'll be able to switch visions. You know, theoretically, if we had that, we could switch to thermal vision just to see it better, because it'll be a brighter dot on the distance. Don't forget, you can just walk over tanks. You can do that at any weight class of mech. It's not like a certain mech has to do it. So if you're getting fed up and trying to shoot down a mech, and it's, or not a mech, shoot down a vehicle in your mech and it's up close, you can just step on it. You'll take a little bit of damage, but it's like an instantaneous KO of any vehicle. So keep that in mind. So we're just moving from patrol zone or patrol zone, right? We're going from waypoint to waypoint, doing our combat patrol, taking out anything that gets in our way. This isn't technically, I guess, our territory yet, but we're more or less treating it like it is because, well, the official forces have surrendered and we are pushing back any type of militia resistance. I really like the set piece of being near the water like this. It feels like a shipping area. It just feels like, okay, yeah, I can see this being a thing in the Battletech universe, and it's not just a collection of rocks or a random collection of buildings that has a purpose. I always enjoy set pieces like that. So there is a lot of water on one of our sides. We're not really going to be able to leverage that here and now, but we definitely can leverage that later on in the mission. So, more things to scan, which once we scan and move close enough, we will trigger a wave of enemies, because that's typically how it works. I think it's more so based on your distance and not so much if you scanned, but when you do both, it doesn't matter. I like how they jump jet down, which means it's a specific setup of mechs, like Jenners and certain Phoenix Hawks have jump jets, and I just think that's pretty cool. As we can see, the Phoenix Hawk is rocking some ECM, so we want to take it out so we have a better view of our HUD and our radar and everything else. While they are light mechs and medium mechs, and we are a bunch of heavy mechs, this is our third basically group of battle mechs we're dealing with in this mission, so we are going to not be fresh where they are fresh, and I like the way they're using them. They're not just throwing them at us willy-nilly piecemeal. They're throwing them at us because, and that's a medium right there, the blackjack. They're throwing them at us because they have jump jets and they can jump down from that area. So as I just casually walked through an engine kill there that blew up as I was inside of it, we take down the mechs. So we don't find anything intel-wise here, but we do get codes, which we're going to input the codes here for some mech repair bays. I don't believe there's any ammo crate, and if there is, I totally miss it. But instead, what we do have is mech repair bays. So if you were in pretty good condition, you could utilize this as a quasi-ammo crate for one of your star mates if they have a lot of ammo. And if Ezra was in better shape, I would have done that with Naomi, but Ezra needs the repair bay more, so I give it to Ezra because I figure, you know what, not that big of a deal. Naomi has pulse lasers, she'll be fine. So, and that's more or less true. I like to wait until the repairs are done. With AI, sometimes it'll have quite a moment until it can actually move into the repair bay for some reason, but it sounds like it's doing pretty decent already, so that was pretty efficient movement right there. So now we're all repaired up, we're able to mosey on out and take down more enemy mechs and move on to the final position for this combat patrol. Even though it's not a full lance, they are getting the jump on us a little bit in terms of being right here when we get close, because they're pretty much lying in wait more or less, and as such it can be particularly troublesome, especially if you just repaired and now you're getting picked apart. I guess it was delayed lance. We had two, and then we had the spider, and now we have the griffin. So as we can see, that thing probably would have punched me if it was able to, but we blew off its arm and then it promptly was defeated afterwards, so no need to worry about that. So Stockholm Wimmer is baring her fangs because she's basically saying pile up the trash and they'll either get the message or there'll be nothing left to take out to the trash and we'll have the planet anyway. Plenty of turrets, so don't forget about them. They can be problematic if you get too close. They'd like to just chip away your health, and turrets are getting at the point where they can be more problematic than they were in the beginning. One thing you'll notice with turrets as you get through this game is that the turrets will, I wouldn't say necessarily increase in lethality straight up, but they become much more troublesome if you let them just stick around and shoot at you. So we definitely take care of that. We do have the water on our side here, and I like that. So if you want to dip your toes in the water and cool off a bit, you can definitely do that. One thing I've noticed in this final waypoint area, waypoint delta, is that there's a couple of mechs up there that don't like to come down. When I first did this, my very first playthrough, they came down no problem. But after that, they just refused to come down. We got to go chasing after them, which means we got to leave the awesomeness of the water behind. But like I said in the heatsink lore video that I did, that's right, I did a video on heatsinks in BattleTech because I'm weird like that. If a heatsink is in a denser medium that it could pass over its heat extractors, more or less, that vent the heat out of the mech, it can operate more efficiently. Water is very dense in comparison to air, right? It's a liquid, so we're able to really quickly vent heat from heat sinks that are submerged because the denser material is able to transfer the heat more efficiently, is the gist of it. The more you know, because you totally were curious, I'm sure. Anyways, I'm surprised at the number of crabs mechs that we're seeing, just because it's one of those designs that doesn't, I would say, it doesn't really jump out for a lot of people. I remember it, and I am a fan of it because I remember using it a decent amount in Mechwarrior 2 Mercenaries, but that was a while ago. In any case, we have an Orion. They're always something that's worth trying to at least take out an arm or a side torso, so you get the arm with it, to really try and hamper their offensive capabilities. But lastly, we're going to have, I believe, a Wolverine because it just doesn't want to come down. Luckily, it's not the most kitted out mech to deal with, but it is still a nuisance, and taking out that left arm did nothing. But we take it out in short order nonetheless. And that's the entire combat patrol. Now we just have to wait for extraction. A cool set piece area, a little bit of like a shipping yard style situation, quite literally with ships, and not necessarily space naval, but actual water naval, which is cool. And we have plenty of water to dip our toes in and be a-okay in terms of dealing with heat. So this mission is a fun, straightforward mission. I do enjoy it. I think visually it's got interest. It's not just barren rocks and some water, but we have some facilities along the way. And in terms of strategy, we're just here to more or less ensure that this world is ours, because sure, the regulars surrendered, but officially, you know, that surrender doesn't mean much when they have elements that refuse to surrender and we have local militia, but we are dismantling them. So I wouldn't really call the world contested. It's more so that they're just, it's more so the equivalent of kind of being almost sore loser types, but not really that. It's they're trying to contest every inch, trying to bleed us out. And considering that they're being supplied by Luthien Armor Works, which is the capital city's armor works area, or capital planet, I should say. Not the city, but the capital planet of the Draconis Combine. It is, in essence, the Draconis Combine, not so much doing a proxy war, because it is their territory, it is their stuff, but they know that the defenders are done for, in terms of they've lost. But if they can bleed out the clan as much as they can here, it's just going to make it better for them theoretically overall. So it's a solid strategy. In any case, we had a Battle Master, we have a Marauder, we took down, I believe, an Orion, and there's a Hunchback. And you saw I gave the command to defend move, so they're going to pull away from the enemy instead of trying to go up close, which is always, I think, pretty worthwhile to try and do, which is why I did that. But that was a decent little lance to deal with, for sure. in any case, that's the mission. We have a dropship to extract us. I am out of missiles. Naomi's out of missiles. I don't know. I assume Mia's out of missiles, but I got plenty of machine gun ammo still. So always just blast them. And with that said, that's a mission taken care of. And we've leveled up our honor to level 11. We get merit points, and we unlock the Gargoyle. Now, the Gargoyle is our first assault mech. It's 80 tons. It's decently fast, but honestly, the Timberwolf has more armor and armament than the Gargoyle base. So, I tend to give the Gargoyle to one of my star. I just stay in the Timberwolf because it's just, I think, better personally, but that's just my taste. Plenty of salvage to be had because we have maxed out salvage component claim, so that's always good. And like I said, we get merit points, we get some Kerenskys, which is fine, and we get access to the Gargoyle to unlock, so we're going to do that. And we have increased structure damage reduction to level 2, I should say, for the research being done. So first things first, make sure you unlock the mech that you just unlocked, so unlock merit points. That way you don't accidentally spend too many and can't unlock it. Then I like to make sure I apply all for the camo spec so the Gargoyle looks good. And then from there, when it comes to spending merit points, we're in a pretty good spot. We have maxed out salvage components, which is nice. So we can really, play around with getting to 25 technicians and doing anything for research purposes. But right now, we're just building up to get to the level 5 of evasion for the rest of the star. Jaden already has that. So we have maxed out technician efficiency. So really at this point, in terms of repair upgrades, we're just looking to get our technicians to 25. Each mech can have a maximum of 5 techs working on it. So 5 times 5 is 25. We're pretty set that way. And we're maxed out with the science lab, so we just need to get maxed out scientists, and we'll be good to go as well. Given the sheer amount of research points we're going to generate now, I think it's like either 15 or 1600 per mission. We're going to start burning through some research rather quickly, so we do want to get as much salvage components as we can. And yeah, at 1600, we do want to get as much salvage components as we can so we can get as much research going as possible. Again, have a plan. I do try to prioritize defensive stuff when I can, and energy weapons is what I like to research the most of myself. And that's really it for this part. A fun mission, straightforward. Thanks so much for tuning in and stopping by. Until the next one, take care.